Weigh-In is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
No more jumping, the fireworks are through, here we are, me and you, feeling lost and feeling new. It's the end of the party, and the morning seems so great, so unlike yesterday. Now's the time for us to say, Happy New Year, may we all have the vision of the day of the world where every neighbor is a friend. Happy New Year, may we all have our homes are real to try. If we don't, we might as well lay down and die. You and I. Sometimes I see how the brave new world arise, and I see how it flies in the ashes of our lives. Oh yes, man is a fool, and he thinks he'll be okay. Running on the wheel of play, never knowing he's on stay. Keep on going.
So look at Whitek bursting through. Whitek's come from last for the Wizard of Wars, and Whitek wins the Sistema Railway.
Every neighbor is a friend. Happy New Year, may we all.
Oh, he's done it. He has done it. Warren Kennedy has got up in the very last stride on Habana.
Seems to me now that the dreams.
What an incredible afternoon at the races at Pukekohe yesterday. Warren Kennedy riding 7 winners. It was such a special afternoon and really something to be part of. There was lots of stories around the horses as well, and we're going to be unpacking all of that on the show this morning. Michael Guerin, a very happy new year to you. Great to be working with you this morning, and you were there on track as I was, and there was such a wonderful atmosphere and a celebration of what Warren was able to achieve yesterday.
A very happy new year for Warren. Happy new year to you, Emily, to everybody watching at home. Great to be part of your 2024. When you think New Zealand racing has been going more or less for 150 years, and that was probably the single greatest day by a jockey in this country. Now, there's been some very special ones, and there's been obviously jockeys from here who have won Japan Cups like Lance O'Sullivan and Melbourne Cups and some great races. But never a 7 on this sort of day. Maurice Campbell, we believe, rode 7 maybe at Martin 20 or 30 years ago. And let's be honest, no one probably really knows if someone rode 7 back in the 40s or the 30s or the 20s. But nobody's ridden 7 with the Group 1 and 3 Group 2s. And it wasn't like he was riding against people who don't know what they're doing. You know, Opie was there, you've got Michael McNabb, 2-time champion rider, Jason Collett was there.
And it wasn't like he was on horses with that were all $1.50 favourites. It was on some longer shots too, wasn't it?
And the TAB didn't really enjoy that part of it. We'll get to that later. So an incredible day, an incredible thing to be part of. When you get onto that sort of role, the whole day changed because everybody, by the time we got to the last race, was looking at one horse and one man. Now, we do have a lot of great training performances around all this. So this morning on Weigh-In, we're going to talk to the trainers and the connections of the winning horses. But in segment 2, we have an exclusive long-form chat with Warren about his day and whether, this is interesting, Em, because the rumour mill starts to go, he has been lured or potentially lured away to Australia. All of that's coming up shortly. Warren talking to you about his day and his career and his move. But between now and then, of course, there's some horses and some other people to celebrate as well.
Yeah, there sure are. And we're going to start with the Group 1, the Sistema Railway. It was taken out by Whitek.
Spots Johnny, the best part of 10 lengths on the corner. Into the straight they come in the Sistema Railway. And it's Johnny kept well away from the rail. He's out by 3 lengths from Mercurial. Bonnie Lass, Babylon Berlin closer towards the inside. Now Dragon Leap's been taken to the extreme outside here. And behind them then Sacred Satona, Maria Farina. Further back Maven Bell. Out wide Dragon Leap. Mercurial's all over the place. And look at Whitek bursting through. Whitek's come from last for the Wizard of Wars, and Whitek wins the Sistema Railway.
I know you're a man who likes to plan things, but sometimes, Lance, it pays to change tack.
Well, it did. You know, when you think about this horse 12 months ago, he's running in the Derby, and here he is today winning a railway handicap. Well, I don't know if we got it right this time or terribly wrong last time. I'm not too sure, but yeah, pretty exciting to win this race with him today.
He's an unusual horse, isn't he? Because he seems to be worse when he's going slow.
He is, and I just think, you know, with him running over the shorter trips and they're running at pace, it gives him a chance to relax and get off the bridle. And that very much. He's not very tractable in a race, and I think that's his biggest problem. So when they're sort of running along and he's getting along, he's far easier for the jockey to manage.
Okay. Oddly, you now have a Group 1 sprinter called Whitack. Does he try to embellish that by going to Trentham?
Yeah, look, we'll just wait and see how he pulls up. Andrew and I certainly won't make any decisions, today, but we'll just see how he pulls up in the interim. Possibly he may be better suited going to Tirapa, running 1400, maybe more to his liking. And of course, Trentham comes around pretty quick.
Would you see him as a horse who could eventually get back to 2000, or is there enough options between 12 and 16 that he can have a very satisfactory career there?
Look, it would probably be unlikely we'd ask him to run 2000 again, unless he's suggesting he wants to run further in his races. But I think, I think there's plenty of options sort of running up to a mile, and we think he'll still be very effective up to a mile. But whether he does want to run in 2000, he was beaten out here narrowly one day, and he looked a bit soft the last bit.
Okay, you and Scotty are training up a storm at the moment. Now, your brother Paul's back from overseas. He's going to want some of the credit for this. Is Paul helping at all?
Well, he tells us Andrew and I, when we're doing things wrong. But I think Paul, of course, is great to call on, for his opinion on different things, just as my father has been in the past as well. But I just think, it's just one of those years where we've got a very, very good team of horses and, plenty of depth. And I think the last 2 years we've been pretty active at the sales, although we didn't purchase Whitack. But we've been pretty active. We've been out spending a little bit more money and just been able to buy that better quality of horse.
How did Molly come through Boxing Day and everything's all tickety-boo for 1.5 million on January the 27th?
Yeah, she's pulled up sound and well. You can certainly see she's had a run, but she probably took her a couple of days to get back onto her feet 100%, but she certainly is back on track at the moment. And, it was a bit of a gap between runs between Christchurch and, of course, here the other day. And I wouldn't say we were overly tough on her in the interim, but showing good improvement into the next one, she should be pretty competitive.
We got a new sprinting star, didn't we, in the form of Whitack. It certainly flew under the radar in that pre-start market, but you always had the feeling that Whitack had ability because of what he was able to do last year and the time that they gave him. He's just come back such a good horse, hasn't he?
So weird to see a horse who raced in 2 derbies, not just 1 derby, 2 derbies do that, but not totally dissimilar to Dragon Leap. They tried him as a derby horse, it didn't work. And now he's one of our best sprinters, and he was really good yesterday, losing a plate at the 250. Let's go back to Whitack. The remarkable thing about this, obviously the ride was great, but you need the horse to do so. They've gone quick in front, so the horses who are up on the speed and closer to the rail end up dropping out. Look at Whitack here, keep your eye on him. He is still last at the 200 metre mark. So the 200 metre pole's about to get just went past you there. He's gone from last at the 200 to bolting in. Poor old Bonnie Les copped the check, but that wouldn't have changed the result. Mercurial was good, Dragon Leap lost that plate. He came home in 32.6 seconds on a slow track for his last 600. It was 0.4 of a second faster than any other horse in the race. It's the closest thing we've seen in New Zealand to a Chautauqua in the last 20 years. It was Mr. Tislike. Now, he's not as good as those horses, and maybe didn't have a best sprinter there in Imperatrice, but it was a phenomenal performance. And maybe being a praser, he didn't really get that derby distance last year in. Spoke to Lance O'Sullivan this morning. They had a big day. They had 3 winners, of course. He is going to head to the BCD sprint. Now, the market, we'll show you the market for the Aotearoa Classic. He is eligible for that, but they don't want to go 1,200 to a mile. So don't back him in the Aotearoa Classic. He won't be heading there. The BCD sprint next for him, they're not taking him to Trentham, and Dragon Leap will go to Trentham, providing everything's okay in the next couple of days. So that's the plans for them. Around them, Bonnie Les really good.
Always. She's always such an honest little mare, isn't she? She runs a good race.
And I thought Mercurial was good too, considering what Mercurial is. It's not a horse we thought of as a Group 1 horse. Dragon Leap, excellent. Maven Bell looked a little bit like a 1,400 metre horse racing in a 1,200 metre race. And those horses up on the speed, which was quite hot, because they've gone 1.9.7 on the slow track, they've dropped out. Maybe the horse who wasn't on the speed and disappointed to the eye was Sacred Satono. He was closer to the inside, but I think everybody expected a better version of him than that. Spoke to Ben Foote about Babylon Berlin. He said, look, we don't know. He said, maybe there's some little issue there. We're not sure. We're going to try and work on it. That was clearly not the best of her, because take Waitak away from that performance, she was beaten by Bonnie Lass very easily, and Mercurial very easily, even Maria Farina beat her home, and they're not horses you would expect to beat Babylon Berlin usually. You said you were talking to Opie, obviously, last night about the track. I'm not sure that, I think the track got into that middle ground, is that what he said, where it was a bit sticky and therefore maybe are willing to forgive on some horses?
Yeah, that was exactly what he said. It was just it presented odd. I suppose we had the rain and then we had the drying, didn't we, throughout the day? So it didn't suit all horses, but no excuses. I mean, Waitak has won incredibly well, as have all the other horses. But I think for the ones he was aboard yesterday, track conditions potentially played a little bit of a part.
Well, now we head to the Telegraph, and it comes around really quickly, and I still think it comes around too quickly. But I also believe that maybe there'll be a change in our feature race calendar in the next couple of months, and we might see these races bouncing to different dates. So Seamus will be there. He has no reason not to be there. Dragon Leap, we hear, is heading there. Babylon Berlin, if she's okay, I presume she'll head there. There's a lot of question marks in that middle area, Em. We don't know about Maven Bell. We don't know about Sacred Satono. So, look, I think a lot of trainers this morning will analyse races, trot their horses up and make their decisions, but I'm willing to forgive any horse who got beaten yesterday, and there were a couple of hot favourites who did, simply because that track got into that middle ground. Not the track's fault at all, it was just a really weird situation where again we saw 2 upgrades on the day from an 8 to a 6.
Yeah, you're sort of victim to the weather, aren't you? Nothing we can do about that. Let's get to the Rich Hill Mile, and it was a nail-biting finish between St. Bathans and Habana.
In behind them, El Vencedor, followed then by Arish Habana towards the outside. Coming with it also Cognito further back, Lin Zhong Xiong Feng at the 300 metres. St. Bathans made the lead here. Here's Habana coming after it out wide. El Vencedor's battling on Udurzo, then Dusty Road further back, RB poking through. It's St. Bathans in front, Habana out wide and El Vencedor poking through. St. Bathans, Habana's coming after it. St. Bathans, Habana's lunged and made it very interesting. Right on the line. Well, gee, this is close in the Rich Hill. Habana and St. Bathans.
Well, that was heart-stopping stuff.
Yeah, it was, and funny enough, I thought we'd won, and then somebody else up there said, no, you didn't, you ran second. I thought, oh shit, I didn't think we had. And of course, when I watched the replay, he just got his head down at the right time. So, yeah, pretty good result. We're pretty happy.
You talk about results, Cambridge Studs racing operations results in the last 2 years have been incredibly strong. So what do you put that down to? Is it a combination of all the moving parts of this team you put together?
Oh, look, obviously Lance has got great facilities to work with, but he's not the only trainer we've got training for us. Henry has a lot to play. Mark, Scott, Cameron from the stud. You know, everybody gets involved. Warren Kennedy's been a breath of fresh air for us. His feedback on, you know, if we're trialling a horse or taking it up the track or whatever, there's a major, but, you know, there's no I in team. And, you know, we buy the horses. Obviously, we enjoy the success, but at the end of the day, it's a team effort. And the most enjoyment we get out of it is to be able to share it with friends, family, and also staff, and also a lot of other people that follow our colours. It's great.
There's also no I in sales, and they're just around the corner. How are you feeling about the sales coming up this year? Because there's a buoyancy in New Zealand racing there hasn't been for a long time. Do you see that percolating through the system for Karaka?
Oh, absolutely. Look, you know, the Entain boys have made such a massive difference. What they've done with the injection of the stake money, obviously it makes a big difference. They put the stakes up 30%, it means all the jockeys earn 30% more, trainers earn 30% more. But that's going to go, that has to go through to the sales ring. But at the end of the day, New Zealand horses have really held the colours in Australia, where major our buyers come from, and those Australian buyers will be over here trying to buy, you know, Presea. Hopefully they'll try and buy Hello Usain and an El Manzor, but the reality is Savabill's still top of his game. You know, we've got some good bloodstock to offer, and why wouldn't the sales go good?
Congratulations on 2 big wins today. You might be able to afford to buy yourself some long pants,
Well,
Brendan.
No, we were here on Boxing Day and I absolutely cooked. So I said to Jo, do you think I should wear long trousers? And she said, look, do what you like. She said, I'm sick of you complaining.
Great woman you've married there.
I know.
Oh, good stuff. Brendan, love the shorts. Don't listen to Michael. You don't need pants. Michael doesn't wear shorts.
I told my legs aren't as good as Brendan's. I told him I might buy him a pair of long pants, but I think after he also won the Chester Manifold yesterday in Melbourne with not an option.
Yeah.
We'll see that a bit later on. It's been one of the most remarkable renaissances I can remember, because the Brendan and Joe Lindsay colours were quite well known because they had nice horses and they're quite nice colours. And then probably all came along and they sort of rose up about 5 levels. And they've never gone back down again.
No.
I mean, they're winning 1,000 guineas in Australia. They're winning regularly group races here. We're going to see another one shortly. And it's been a team effort. A lot of people have been involved in that. Yes, Warren, working with Lance, has definitely helped those homebred horses, I think, Ian. But I think it's really important for New Zealand racing when people of that ilk come in and invest that heavily, they get some results. But man, they're getting a lot of results. It's got to the stage now where I know the colours are spread around different trainers and different horses, but people look at them and go, well, this thing's probably got a chance. Just on the race, Habana was fantastic. Like the last 100 metres, it made up 2 lengths. I watched all these replays again this morning, and he's never going to win this race. I think Ulrika did the right thing on St. Bathans. She turned it into a staying test, and she couldn't have done more because he's probably not quick enough to accelerate like this. But look at Habana here. They're near at the 100-metre mark, and he's just going through the gears, and then boom, he just takes off. I had to feel for Ulrika. We had her on the show last week and she said she would love to win a black type race, and she was so close there.
So close. A nostril in it, wasn't it? And I think, from what I understand, Warren might have said, I think you got that, Ulrika, which would have only added to the pain, but she should have known it was Warren's day.
Well, it was, and there was not much more she could do. I thought Cognito was good. Again, out of the race, if you see a horse coming out of that you want to back in the next couple of weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if the form changed a lot when we get to a firmer type track. But yep, it was his day. RB was probably a touch unlucky back on the inside. These horses have a lot of options. Obviously, some of them can go back to 1,400, some can go up to 2,000, and there's an anniversary and a Thorndon coming up next for them. But yeah, Habana, really interesting horse. He's now going to be weighted out of everything in that grade. So I predict the rest of his future is going to be at Weight for Age. Yeah,
and he did a pretty good job, didn't he, in the Captain Cook, wasn't it, just a couple of weeks ago?
Well, and probably a little bit of justice, Ian, because he was fifth in that farcical Captain Cook situation, and 3 horses who finished in front of him didn't jump from the gates. So, yeah, maybe some justice there yesterday, even though the rider of the second horse probably would have liked Warren to ride 6 yesterday and not 7.
Well, let's get to the Queen Elizabeth Cup. This was for the stayers, and Trust in You asserted his authority.
The favourite Terra Matika into the race. SVR is back second last as they turn for home for Mary Louise. Homeward bound now, 4:50 to go, and it's Khan Hunter the leader. Here's Terra Matika coming after it. Trust in You starting to loom large on the outside. 2 lengths away then to SVR, and then followed by My Maybelline Girl and Kiwi Man. It's Khan Hunter. Trust in You's ranging up on the outside for Jason Collett, and behind them Terra Matika. Trust in You put its bib in front. Khan Hunter won't go away. Late run Mary Louise, but welcome back to NZ, Jason Collett.
Well, that's a welcome home present you like.
Yeah, it's fantastic, Vic. It's nice to get that one along the way, and hopefully we can get the Group 1 afterwards.
Okay, you came here to ride Babylon Berlin. How did you actually end up on this horse?
Yeah, Craig Baker, he did the organising for me to sort of come over here, put it to me if I'd be interested for Babylon, and then I asked him if he could sort of organise some more rides, because I'm here now, we might as well make the most of it, and yeah, that's how that came about. He spoke with Grant, and obviously performance on Boxing Day and come through that race well, so yeah, picked it up. A late pick-up, I should say, but nice pick-up.
Must be funny riding a winner for Grant Cooksley, because when you were a little nipper running around here, Grant was one of the legends of the game.
He is, yeah, and it's funny being in Sydney, and obviously he was there, and you'd see the race books and the history, and he's won a lot of races. May not get the recognition he probably deserves, in my opinion, sometimes, but it's quite amazing. He's just about every stakes race. There's G. Cooksey in the 90s there to some degree, but yeah, he was, when I started out, he obviously lived local, and I used to get a ride with him to the races. Not a lot was said in the car, but Yeah, very. It's good to be here today to be in this role, riding winner for him.
Okay, you're back home from Sydney, which is now home. How has your riding changed in the last, say, 3 or 4 years when you ride in the big dances in Sydney?
Yeah, prize money's a huge. You know what we have now in Sydney, what they've been able to produce. It's pretty awesome. You don't really, unless you have a really good horse, you don't need to be going down to Victoria during the carnival.
What about, but for you, but for your technique though, like, do you ride differently when you watch yourself riding here 5 years ago? Do you look different than you do now?
I wouldn't say different, but definitely what I know now. You just, along the way, it's just experience. Like Chris Wallace said, riders don't find their peak till they're in their 30s. So, you know, we're getting that way anyway to that age. But it's just experience. It just doesn't all come straight away. It's the more chances you get to ride in these big races like football players until they're in that cauldron, that pressure pit. You know, you don't know, whether you can make it or not.
I think our open class staying ranks are a bit light at the moment, but what do you make of that horse?
Yeah, look, I'd agree, but look, no different to Sydney. Yeah, small field today, but yeah, he did that quite nicely in the end there, and to back up after what he produced a week ago, yeah, really good.
We naturally think people like you could potentially come to a Karaka Million. Is it actually as easy to come back as it sounds, or do you have to be thinking about what you're going to be riding in the autumn and whether you miss those rides if you're not there for them?
Look, it's early enough at the start of the year, so it's not, getting into the carnival in Sydney too much. So, but, it's a couple, you'd like to know a couple of weeks out.
Great to have Jason Collett on home shores, of course. I do sense a little bit of an Australian twang there, but we saw Blake Shin successful on Boxing Day, Michael, and then for Jason to come back and pick up a win. It's good to see, and I know it only encourages them to be able to come over. With regards to Trust in You, saw it on Boxing Day and won really nicely. And tell you what, it didn't take a step backwards yesterday. Looked so good, obviously bounced through that run a week ago really well.
Well, as Grant said on the show last week, they only decided during the week to go here because they had won so well, and our staying ranks are really thin. I thought the second horse was really good, Khan Hunter, so these two have sort of worked into open grade together. Tira Matika just didn't handle the track. She had no wet track form coming out of England, which is surprising for that type of horse.
She did get on the steel a little bit early, didn't she, as well, which probably wouldn't have helped.
And I thought Mary Louise was good. She was the horse who looked a genuine stayer. But on to the winner. It's a great story when you think that Grant Cooksley, who it's good to get that perspective from Jason of what it's like riding in Sydney and the respect for Grant there. When you think that he used to go to the races with Grant when he was young, and you look up to those people, and here he is riding a group winner for him. Fantastic story. Grant is training really well. Jason will be welcome back anytime. I think he actually rode that horse a kilo over. I think it said 54 on the official result, which is a pretty big performance for a horse who's just stepping into this grade. He's by Swainess out of a sprinting mare, so you wouldn't naturally think he can stay, but clearly he can. And I would suggest he's got a whole array of options around those Avondale Cups and into Auckland Cups and things. Again, the problem for him and any good star we have is you get up the handicap so quickly because there's no depth at the top of it. We will talk about this a little bit later on, but we don't want to glaze over it now. Very sadly, Platinum Invader broke down in that race. He had to be humanely put down. Terrible stuff. We'll farewell him later on, but we don't want to gloss over that. He was a wonderful horse, the best horse in that race, and very sad to see him lost, but great to see Jason back. And as he said, it is doable to come back for a Karaka Million when you add him and you add Blake Shin to Warren and Opie and Craig and Nabber and everybody else in that jockey's room. Gee, we've got some depth at the moment, and depth that punters can feel confident in.
Yeah, and excitement, isn't it? These big race days, they're really delivering with the excitement factor. Let's move on to the 3-year-old staying fillies in the Sir Patrick Hogan Stakes. This one, it was the Cambridge stud colours flying high again with About Time.
To the outside and About Time being saved up for one last run at them at the 400 metres in the Sir Patrick Hogan Stakes across the track now. We've got in front My Lips Are Sealed, still bang on out wide. About Time is warming up. Livid Sky looks to make a late bid as well and through on the inside. Saxon Silks still bang on. About Time, Livid Sky's running on, then My Lips Are Sealed. About Time made the lead short of the line. Livid Sky and still bang on. He's done it again, Warren Kennedy.
Well, she already had black type, but that's a real bonus for the owners because they're breeders getting a Group 2.
Yeah, no, and a little bit more special being the Sir Patrick Hogan stakes, so it meant a lot for lots of different reasons.
Let's talk about her because you probably found the right race for her and you've had to back her up to do it, but does she now go on and get her shot at an Oaks?
Look, we'll just get her home and see. She's backed up. It's her first prep. I'm very aware that it's only her first real serious prep. So, but if she continues, once they stay, it takes half of the opposition away. So we'll definitely look at it, but she'll tell us.
I suppose if you don't go there, Lance, what do you do with her?
Probably freshen her up and potentially look at Brisbane or something like that. But look, it's pretty early at this stage, so we'll get her home and make sure she's okay.
Imagine if somebody had told you when they closed Ellerslie down 22 months ago just what a happy hunting ground Pukekohe would be with you. It's been quite remarkable, really.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of lots of things, Mick. The track suits us. It's big, long, straight. Warren rides it so well, and we're 20 minutes from home, and I think that does play into it. That the horses, it's easy travelling for them to get here, and I think they perform really well.
We're talking about one 3-year-old filly. Let's talk about another, Luberon. What's the plan for her? Any chance you try and get her back out to a mile for the Group 1 at Trentham?
Got to sit down with Brendan and Henry and really discuss her, but I'm leaning towards the Westbury Classic on Crack a Million night, 1400 fillies and mares. It seems a nice race, and the 3-year-old races, the 3-year-olds are very, very strong this year, and I'm not quite sure she gets to a mile.
Well done to Lance Noble and the team at Karaka. They do a wonderful job with their horses, and About Time is another one who looks to be progressing the right way. As we heard in the interview, very valuable black type on the pedigree page, and daughter of American Pharaoh. She's so lightly raced. She's really asserting her authority in the 3-year-old ranks.
Remarkable when you think, she is out of a speed mare, a real speed mare, and the mare's best sprinting foal was also a Romantic Lady, and she was really fast. And you think, it's probably a sprinting family. It was by power. This one has that American Pharaoh blood, obviously a Triple Crown winner in the States. But she's also a half-sister to Young Werther. So you would suggest she will get the Oaks trip. And once you get to 50 metres on a sticky track, it's not that far, you would think, through an Alice Classic or a Sunline Vase to go to the Oaks trip. So
she really attacked the line too, didn't she? And Warren was last, wasn't he? Yeah, he just sort of minding his own business out the back and really had to work through the pack and attack the line.
Well, also when you look at that field, you say, well, who else is going to be in the Oaks? Now, I know Oaks horses will come up, and Orchestral, who is earlier in the day, would have the potential to go there, but I think a lot of our good fillies are Oaks worthy. Obviously, Molly Bloom and Mary Shan could win an Oaks, but will they even go there? That's the really interesting question. So just on Lance, he's training so well. He was a little bit overshadowed yesterday by the Warren Kennedy show, but they're a wonderful team together. Here's that Oaks market. Now, if you put any of those 3 at the top of the market in the Oaks, they'll be starting favourites, but I'm not sure who will head there. So very movable feast. But yeah, once I saw Young Werther was a half to About Time, you've got to suggest that maybe she will cop the Oaks trip. But yeah, very interesting time in the 3-year-old fillies ranks. I've rung all the trainers and they're going, do I go Live-In Classic? Do I go Karaka 3-year-old race? Do I go down an Oaks path? A lot to play out in this crop,
a lot of questions to be answered, and sometimes with these 3-year-olds, they can just get away with the 2,400 metres, can't they, against their own age group. What about the 2-year-olds? The Eclipse Stakes is the next race that we touch on. Bellatrix Star caused an upset, taking the honours.
Last. Homeward bound, 450 metres to go. Pacemakers now. We've got Velocious over near the insides. Come through quickly. Move to strike. Boston switched the whip over to his left hand. Out wider, Bellatrix Star looks to run on strongly. Velocious move to strike. He'll have to get going soon. Coming after now, Bellatrix Star. Bellatrix Star move to strike, and Velocious. These are the 3. They go to war at the 100 metres. Bellatrix Star has beaten the hot pot. Bellatrix Star.
What did you make of that?
Yeah, look, it's sort of hard to sort of break it down. Obviously, we were confident with the colt heading in, and he kept ticking the boxes since his first up win. And Opie gave him a lovely run. He's probably had every chance. Whether the ground we're not really sure. We'll have to sort of get him home and have a good look at him. Sort of Opie couldn't really offer any excuses for him when he pulled up. So, look, yeah, but take nothing away from the filly. It was a fantastic effort. We sort of knew the key was just to get her to relax and settle. She'd sort of been overdoing it a touch. And Warren's, yeah, look, it's great to have him back on days like this. You know, was really patient, and she built into the race nicely. He sort of said she's got a short, sharp sprint, and then sort of levelled out, but was really tough to the line. So pleasing to see in that regard. And you know, all roads lead to the million.
Okay, well, let's talk about her first, because the Karaka Million is obviously a huge deal. Do you take her to Ellerslie for a spin at some stage?
Yeah, we'll probably just see how she does. I'd say she will go to, I think there's gallops on the Friday before the following Saturday, sort of 8 days out. She is quite a good doing filly. She's carrying, you know, plenty of condition. Whether we'll just sort of work that out a bit closer to the time she may have a thing, but she'll definitely go straight into the race from here.
Okay, do you and Mark make the rider decisions, or does Opie automatically get to choose the best horse? The reason I'm asking is there any chance Warren Kennedy gets booked for this horse because it's actually not a TR Cow owned horse?
Yeah, it's a bit of both really. It does get a bit complicated at times. Obviously, we normally leave it up to Opie. Like you know, he's the best in the business, and he does a lot of work with a lot of horses for us. With, you know, he comes in and rides work and things like that, and he sort of gets a feel on what he wants to do and things like that. And we're not going to want to stop him, are we? So look, at this stage, I think Warren retains the ride. Obviously, we sort of got to work through it a little bit further closer to the time, but we're sort of looking that way, and then Opie would ride Cool and Fast. Okay,
is Cool and Fast your better Karaka Million hope, or after today is Bellatrix Star you better Karaka Million hope, or do you, like the punters, quite clearly not know?
Oh, look, it's a very difficult question. Obviously, completely different form lines. She's had 4 starts now, and she's just a tough, gritty little filly, and he's still doing a little bit wrong. So yeah, look, honestly, it's pretty hard to split them at the moment. I'll be stoked if one of them wins. But yeah, obviously I think we're 4 weeks out now. So yeah, there's plenty of water to go under the bridge, and we just got to wrap them in cotton wool and get them in there as best shape as possible.
Is there still Australian aspirations for Move to Strike, or do you just let him calm down, trot him up in 3 or 4 days and see what you make of it?
Yes, that's sort of the plan. I think I was just talking to Mark before. We'll have to let the dust settle. Obviously, we'd have loved to see him go out today and put on a really impressive performance, and then head over to Australia, because obviously their 2-year-olds are probably a step above ours. So yeah, we'll just get him home and reassess from there.
Look, I know you're a big-time trainer these days, and you won a Group 1 the other day, but what about beating your old man in the Taupo Cup the other day and watching the race with him? Like, couldn't you have just let him get that one?
Oh, yeah, everyone. I've got a lot of stick for it, to be fair. Yeah, obviously, we sort of watched the race together, and he kicked clear on the corner, and Michael just mapped out a fantastic race on Mezzabine. She got the splits at the right time, sort of saved ground, and the weight sort of made the difference in the end.
Did you say sorry?
Yeah, I was sort of there watching, and he was like, oh no, and I was there sort of celebrating but trying to keep it under wraps. So he said he was a good sport about it, obviously. He said, look, if I was to get beaten, I'm glad it's by you. So
He probably didn't mean that.
Yeah, I know.
That was a good question, Michael. The family banter going. I can't imagine what the dinner table was like, but yeah, it was a...
I think Dad would be pretty proud.
Absolutely.
Back to the 2-year-old race. I think everybody, apart from the people who own Bellatrix Star, and congratulations to Fortuna, were like, what just happened? So there's a bit to unpick here. So first of all, Velocious was really good, and she hits the lead on the inside, and she's gone super, no issues with her as a Karaka Million horse heading forward. But Move to Strike just couldn't, his wheels seemed to be spinning, and he couldn't seem to accelerate like he did at Tarapa. And even though he ran second, he never looked like he was going to win, because Bellatrix Star was always coming as quick as him. And obviously you spoke to Opie about Move to Strike, and everybody spoke to the traders on camera, and everybody sort of went, well, we don't know what to make of it. Then we remove him from the picture. I presume we park him for a week or two, and we end up with this field for the Karaka Million. So I need to ask you this, because you have the inside info, even though Opie never tells you anything. Does he tell you who he's going to ride in the Karaka Million? Because obviously the boys get paid, have Cool and Fast going for $1 million, and they hope you say Cool and Fast.
I know you're going to want a breaking news here, Michael, but I have nothing to report. I don't know if Opie has the choice of, or if he is obliged to ride.
Yesterday he does.
He does. Okay,
Yeah,
there you go. Well, you know more than me. You always know more than me. I'll be honest with you. I watched the Eclipse yesterday, and I thought Caracamelion's going to get a lot clearer here. This is really going to, and it just became murkier because
you had a baby bit on Move to Strike, didn't you?
maybe. I don't know why, because it was so short. But anyway, but
so it's your fault.
I just want Bellatrix Star. I hadn't factored in, and now I've got to factor in Bellatrix Star, and then we've got to go to Ellerslie, and that changes things again. And I know I'm moaning, but it's just very unclear.
A lot of punters felt the same because I think on any other day maybe it doesn't get up, but clearly she's going to head to the Caracamellion in great form. They'll probably take her for a spin around. There's a couple of track gallops coming up at Ellerslie, and they'll be really important because the track's so new.
And there's that race day as well, isn't there? The Twilight.
So we
meeting.
race the 14th. But she won't head there. Then the Friday before, so 8 days before the Caracamellions, there'll be horses going there for track gallops. So I think quite a few will go. And clearly, I think Opie, if he stays with Cool and Fast, because it's 56.5, which is better than 54.5, even though he's riding light, then Warren would be on this horse. What a great battle that'd be. And then it's really hard to make a case outside Velocious and Bellatrix Star for anything else on that field because they were beaten 8 1/4 lengths. So then you start saying, well, who else is turning up for this? Who can win? It's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. Who turns up on the 14th and who turns up anywhere else? But it's getting skinnier, the Caracamellions, as you would expect. That big question will be who will Opie ride. I'm guessing Cool and Fast, but maybe Barrier Draws.
Ride? Old Mr. Seven-Timer.
Well, I think he'll stick with Bellatrix Star. So, and obviously, if Opie chooses Bellatrix Star, maybe it flips the other way. Warren ends up on the other horse, which for the boys get paid.
Sounds a good result for punters all around. Yeah. Let's get to Orchestral. This was early in the day, race number 2, but it was a really dominant win by Orchestral. She's a horse that in the early spring at Hawke's Bay, I watched her in the parade ring. She's just a beautiful quality type, and to see her putting it together on the track is really satisfying. She's one to follow in the future, Michael.
Well, this is really important for her. So she's beating Lupo Solitario, who was okay, and I think Ryan had to present him earlier than maybe he wanted, and I still think he might chase better, but even with the big weight, he was beaten fair and square. Orchestral was sitting 21st in the order for the TAB Caracamellions 3-year-old, worth 1.5 million. Clearly she gets points there and she's now in the race. So I spoke to Robert Wellwood, co-trainer, this morning. They have the option to go to the Live-In Classic. Now she is favourite for the Live-In Classic. He said almost certainly we won't go. No Live-In Classic for her because they want to start in this race and they don't want to do both with a trip to Trentham in between. So Molly Bloom is going to this race, Orchestral is going to this race, and almost certainly not Trentham. Lupo Solitario is heading there as well, so the big three head there, and I think a couple of others may now go, not so sure about taking all them on, I might go to Trentham. So just be really careful with that Live-In Classic market. She's not heading there. She's had some problems. She was scratched on Boxing Day. They never lost faith. And she is also bred to potentially get out to an Oaks trip. So really interesting horse peaking at the right time. Yeah,
exciting. Can't wait to follow her heading forward. We mentioned earlier on the passing of Platinum Invader, and it was really sad to see him go amiss at Pukekohe yesterday afternoon. Our thoughts obviously with the Lisa Latta team and of course Jonathan Riddell and all the connections involved in Platinum Invader. Michael, he was a magnificent horse, a winner of the Auckland Cup, and such a shame to see him leaving us.
Won the City of Auckland Cup under bizarre circumstances after a false start 4 years ago, and he had his injuries in between, and he was a warrior of a horse. Really sad to everybody involved. It's a tough thing to go through, and it's a racing incident. There's no fault there. Let's go back to his Auckland Cup, which was back in March, the signature performance of Platinum Invader. As Emily said, our condolences to all involved and all who love a wonderful racehorse.
Equicade being called upon. Platinum Invaders running on. Further back, Ladies Man still warming up at the 200. It's Nerve Not Verve the leader. Platinum Invaders coming after it strongly. Further back, Equicade and Ladies Man. Nerve Not Verve just in front. Platinum Invaders coming after it strongly. Nerve Not Verve. Platinum Invader got up. Platinum Invader has won the Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup.
Weigh-In is brought to you by our
In came Pep Talk, followed by Cleese. Town Crier is all out. Mezzabine ranged up on the outside. And behind them then we've got Pep Talk. Town Crier and Mezzabine having a great battle. Mezzabine with its nose in front. Mezzabine wins the Harcourt's Taupo Cup. Just ahead of a very game Town Crier.
Diamond Girl in front, Emanon, Redford, Street Fighting Man, Amber Echo, they're lined up. Emanon goes to the lead from Diamond Girl, Redford out wider, and the Buffer's running home. Emanon in front, the Buffer's flying. Emanon, the Buffer, they hit the line. Photo finish, very close.
Well, it was the Country Cups around the country, really enjoying all of those. Some great meetings around New Zealand over the Christmas period, and good to see people out and about enjoying the summer racing. We spoke about Warren at the start of the show and what a remarkable day he had with the 7 winners at Pukekohe yesterday afternoon. Michael caught up with him after a massive day at the track.
Well, that was a remarkable day. Did you feel in the zone?
Yeah, look, after the first one won, and it was, yeah, okay, business as usual. I've been off for quite a while, so business as usual, getting back into it. Second one won, that's all right. Done that before. 3, that's okay. Once the fourth one won, I was like, I've still got quite a few decent rides coming up. This could end up being a really good day, which it did end up to be. So it was really good. You know, got sort of in the zone after about the third winner. I was really like, this could really happen, and let me go for it.
Is it like when a sports person's seeing the ball well or hitting it well? Did you feel like halfway through the day, Warren, I'm seeing them well today?
Yeah, look, it just felt like I was reading the races well today. I got more into good rhythms. They just felt really good underneath me, and I was just in the right spots in the races, I thought. And like you said, luck just goes your way. When it's going your way, it's going your way. And gaps open, splits happened for me when I needed them. And yeah, the results, the 7 winners.
Okay, 7 winners. One of them was a Group 1, but 3 Group 2s. Did any of them mean more than the others for any other reason apart from the obvious of being Group 1s and Group 2s?
Not really. You know, I go out there riding every race to try and win the race, regardless if it's a Group 1, if it's a maiden, it's a Group 2. To get past the post, look, Habana was super courageous. He's a horse that's pretty close to me. We do really well together. So if you had to put my head on the chopping block, I'd probably reach for Habana. He's just a lovely horse, and we just get on so well. And he's come a long way. Whiteack was brilliant. So, and that filly of Lance's, I forget her name all of a sudden. About time. She was splendid today as well, on the backup as well. So they just really ran super races with me today, and just everything went my way.
During the last 2 weeks, you've been on the sidelines. Michael McNabb has taken some massive bites out of your premiership lead. Today helps. Was it frustrating watching that going on?
No, actually, to be honest with you, I wasn't watching. People wanted to tell me how many Nabba had that day or how many Joe had. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't even look at the premiership table.
So what were you doing?
I was enjoying my holiday. You know, I wasn't thinking too much about racing. We had prepping horses for these days that were coming up, and I was just doing my job and just focusing on my riding. Wasn't really worried about what anyone else is doing. My manager sent me a text this morning. They've all caught up to you. They're one behind. I was like, oh, okay, well, better knuckle down and get busy now. So today really helps a good break again.
So you've now been part of our racing culture for about 15 months. What have you learned that's helped you adapt to New Zealand racing, and what do you see as your strengths to get these horses home?
Yeah, look, adapting really look, for me, racing is racing anyway. You've just got to adapt to the way that people ride there and the paces. That's key to any race, is the pace of the race. Yeah, they would go really quick and yank it up a little bit and then sprint again, due to the structure of some of the courses with really short straights. And I did struggle to adapt to that sort of way of racing. We normally used to flowing races where the speed increases as you get along. So that was pretty difficult for me, but I've been doing it a long time. It took me a little while, I'll be honest with you, but I caught on to it relatively quickly. And it's been really good. The tightness of the racing, you know, there's no false rails here, so there's no split up of the pack coming to the top of the straight. Room isn't created there. You've got to create your own room. So look, that's been the tricky part for me. I've got the hang of it now and really enjoying it. My strength is I think I can put a horse in the correct position in a race. Can read a race pretty good. When the pace is not good enough, I can make a move and have the courage to do that. You know, a lot of guys will think in their minds, oh, this pace is slow, maybe I should go now, and they wouldn't, because it'd be 800 out, and if it got beat, people would say, what were you doing there? But what I say to a lot of young riders is your first instinct is the correct one.
What about heading forward? Is there anything about New Zealand racing you're still getting used to? Do you find your muscle memory sometimes goes back to South African racing? Is there anything you need to improve?
Look, no one's ever the finished product. You're learning all the time, especially with horse racing. That's the unique thing about it. You're riding all these different horses all the time. Each horse has got their own characteristics, and you've got to adapt and guide them in the right direction. So we're always improving. There's always room for improvement. No one's ever the finished product. What I can improve on probably is my gate speed. I'm not the best out the gates. I'm handy, but I'm not the best out the gates. But it's been working to my advantage recently. So, you know, that's the way that I get the horses to relax and I get them flowing. So, look, there's always room for improvement. So we'll find a way.
I want to ask you something which may be a sensitive subject for some people, because everybody here loves you now, they want you to stay. But there's more money in Australia. Is there any chance you might head there once your visas and residencies allow you to, or are you looking to stay in New Zealand?
Look, from the outset, I said to everyone that I'm looking to stay in New Zealand, and nothing's really changed there. If the opportunity came to go to Australia to raid, I'd go raid, but I'd always come back here. I'm looking to make this my home. I've moved my family a long way. It's been very stressful for them, and I wouldn't want to be doing that again. You know, it might be a little knock to my career, but they've done a lot for me. It's a small price to pay for their happiness, and I'm really looking to stay here, and I really enjoy it here, and everyone's been so great to me, and I'm doing well, so I'm looking to make this my permanent base.
Going to the gates today for the last on the card, the stories are that the TAB was up to lose about 4 million if you won. Did you know that? Did you know that one ticket apparently was like hoping for the Wizard of Woz for like $1.5 million or something? Did you hear any of that?
No, well, I heard that the TAB was in for quite a bit of money if I won the last. But yeah, look, we just went out and rode the race that I could, and unfortunately that filly, she didn't perform today. She was 800. She was really struggling. She wasn't herself. So those things happen. You can't win them all. Back to the drawing board with her, but can't take back from it. It's been a fantastic day.
Mate, congratulations on behalf of all the New Zealand racing industry. Thank you to you and Barb, and to all the fun you're bringing to the racing here, mate. So I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are.
Cheers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You guys have all been really accommodating. It's just been great. I've just really felt like, since I stepped off the plane, it's felt like home. And that's just been key for me. I've been able to settle in, and everyone's just been so fantastic to me. Got to mention Brendan and Joe Lindsay. They've been huge supporters. Daniel Narkley, he's always there for me. He's become a good mate. And that's what it's about. Building relationships, getting friendships, and looking forward to making this my new home.
And we're very glad that Warren has decided to make New Zealand his home. I must admit, Michael, we had a little laugh, Opie and I, yesterday, because Opie said, you know, I rode 5 on Boxing Day and I thought I was going pretty good. And then Warren, he was on the sidelines. He says, hold my lemonade. And he comes out and rides 7. It made Opie look like a pup.
It was remarkable, wasn't it?
It was awesome, yeah.
A couple of things to touch on there. Now, the rumour mill is, and obviously the rumour mill in racing's wrong a lot, that Warren wants to go to Australia. Clearly he does not. He said, Barb and the kids have moved here to help my career. This is our home and we're going to stay here. Yes, he would like to raid over there, but that's important to get that out, because obviously you hear these things all the time and the money over there is so big. He's such a huge asset, and you would hope long term the family does stay here. So he could be somebody who one day ends up mentoring other apprentices, because he's got a very, very good brain. Just on the premiership here, he was 1 in front, now he's 8 in front. 13 group enlisted, so I think the record, is 17.
Wow.
Opie and Nabba had 17 as the record. He's on 13 with half the season to go. 3.3 million in stakes. Well, Nabba set the record last year at 4.7 million. That'll struggle to survive. He's having an incredible season. So it's a great story. And when you look at that page and think those people will be at your TAB Karaka Millions coming up, maybe with a Blake Shin and maybe a Jason Collett, it just adds to this wonderful thing, which is Ellersly's return. So well done to Warren, special day. Maybe not numerically he sits alone, I think there's been others, but as a body of work day, it will sit alongside the day Opie won both Karaka Millions at the same time. It's a remarkable day.
Yes, sure is. So we had some sad news earlier last week, and that was, of course, the passing of Paul Harris. Our thoughts and condolences to everybody who knew and were close to Paul. The weigh-in team send out their love. Our thoughts are with everyone in this difficult time.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Struck by 350 metres to run. Still has a decent buffer at the moment, but it's a long straight. 2 lengths, not an option. Who Dares? And back behind them, more Vada don't like the favourite. Struck by at the 150 with not an option, and Who Dares lifting the middle. Who Dares and not an option. They're toe to toe. 100 metres to go. Who Dares and not an option. Their heads in unison. Not an option. Just in front. Just one. Not an option from Who Dares, a gap struck by, then validated. Further back,
not an option, capping off a wonderful day for the Cambridge Stud team, taking out the listed Chester Manifold at Flemington. Michael, we don't have long to go, but there's something special coming up next week, isn't there?
Next week, we're going to preview the Karaka sales. They're just around the corner. All the info's on nzb.co.nz, but we thought we'd do something different. Rather than parading a whole lot of yearlings for you, we're going to get some of the stories of people around the country involved in the sales, what goes into it, the investment and the effort, and find out a bit more about what's it like being part of Sales Day. So next Monday on Weigh-In, MI and Andrew Birch kindly giving us his time for a Karaka sales preview. Hope you can join us for that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. For today, though, it is a very fond farewell. We'll see you next week. We look forward to more Premier racing coming up in the coming months.